Channel log, stardate 12500.4. A thought occurred to me in a post-New Year's food coma. What exactly are the multiple different types of log that we hear upon an episode of Star Trek beginning? Of course, they serve as an in-universe opportunity for the characters to explain a situation, apprising the viewer of events without having to resort to a fourth wall break. But in-universe, many questions arise. There are a multitude of various terms used, and the reoccurring slight that personal logs are not in fact personal at all. From my initial findings, there are two types of log, the duty logs and the personal ones. The division is simple, that the former is recorded as a part of an obligation as a crew member on assignment. The latter is mostly encouraged for posterity and to provide context. The need to record such logs is for the benefit of others to peruse and learn of other missions. Official logs are clear for all members of Starfleet to access unless they contain confidential information, and in fact, it's not uncommon for officers to peruse the logs of others to gain clarity on different subjects. If a log is classified, however, then it may be restricted to various levels of clearance or even edited by Starfleet security to censor certain information while allowing the rest of the log to remain. Firstly, I looked into the various official logs that are recorded as part of day-to-day ship operations, beginning with the most known, the Captain's Log. The Captain's Log is a daily recording of events in which the current missions and outstanding events are mentioned. Some personal sentiment and input is to be expected from the captain, as it is not a dry recording of dates. After all, ships keep extensive telemetry and recordings, which can be attached as needed to such logs for reference, should it be required. This is in addition to reports, such as mission briefs and debriefs, that have to be filed separately as a matter of record and sharing of information. It is usually within the captain's log that a captain will express and highlight exemplary crew actions or individuals, potentially along with commendation and recommendations. The ship's log is a different thing altogether. The ship's log, or station log for space stations, was more focused on the missions and events of the craft, specifically its destination and encounters. Any of the senior staff can add to the ship's log and update it, although it's usually a task that falls to the executive officer. The ship's log is the primary thing that the Admiralty will examine and usually used as an index for the accessing of further reports and logs. Below this are the numerous official division logs that are to be maintained by every department head, the Chief Medical Officer, the Chief of Operations, Security, Engineering, and so on. In a similar fashion to the Captain's Log, these are there to record the progress in missions, tasks, and highlight individuals or other instances of note. While each department head has to keep an official one of these, officers within their department would also be requested to keep one based on their task. However, as most of these departments had their work schedules filtered down from their department head, it was not unusual for them to forego full daily duty logs in favour of the occasional report. Even then, it's infrequent that a junior officer would be asked to fill out a full report on something, as most of the paperwork fell into the department head. Truly, the higher you rise in rank, the more admin there is. For most lower-ranking officers, duty logs are filled out as they go automatically and vary with how often they're required. Some of the blander but necessary logs are maintenance, medical logs and such. Essentially, these are the as-you-go forms that receive updates whenever something is altered. Almost every system on a vessel has some form of these logs. These are very cut and dry, simply showing the assigned crew member their task and time completed, as well as any footnotes or addendums. Short, concise, and with no frivolities. These too are a matter of public record. Now, personal logs or daily logs are a little more interesting. A personal log may contain any information that a person wishes to add, from duty records to emotional opinions and so on. Hobbies, interests, thoughts and more are the subject of these, and often far more entertaining as a result. The senior staff are required to maintain personal logs, although unlike duty logs, these need not be maintained daily. All crew members, however, are encouraged to keep a personal log, and it is seen as a matter of diligence to do so. These logs are generally private from anyone. However, there are a lot of exceptions. Anyone of higher rank can simply access them, but As with many things, accessing the logs is itself logged. So if you're snooping without reason, you're probably going to get reprimanded. Additionally, any security officer can access them with a clearance code, as well as the ship's counsellor or any medical practitioner. Typically, this is done as part of gathering information in the case of a disappearance or for posterity. Accessing personal logs without cause generally does not carry a penalty, but itself is monitored by security and will draw questions if the act itself is considered an abuse of privacy. In all of these logs, either vocal or written forms are acceptable. Often a video log is kept too, but however it is recorded, the only criteria is that it is understandable. If a personal log is edited, there are often signs of this alterations, and they're generally not secretive. The original file might still be recoverable if deleted, but then you're entering the area of reconstructing overwritten files, which can be time-consuming and messy. The most common reason to edit a log is for security concerns, and in this case, the edits remain obvious, as the purpose was not to hide the edit, merely the sensitive information. Falsified logs, however, do exist for the purpose of cover-ups, and are generally a crime in the Federation, except in exonerating circumstances. If a log is deleted, there's a record of the event, but the original file is lost before it even makes its way to a ship or station's database. One thing you will often hear is the supplemental log, which is an addendum made during the same stardate to the same log file. These keep relevant information together instead of spreading it over a myriad of entries. All these logs are collated in the ship's computer core and uploaded into several locations. One packet is stored locally for the crew to access. The second copy is backed up to a ship's backup memory, like a black box or archive unit. The third copy is sent through as a compressed subspace broadcast into the Starfleet subspace network and beamed back to Starfleet Command. From here, these logs can then be sent out by request to others in the fleet pending security checks. So, the duty logs are a critical part of maintaining order in an organisation which does rotate around its staff frequently. A new engineer on a space station would likely want to spend some time perusing the duty logs of their predecessor to get a sense of what active tasks or workarounds have been implemented and why. Duty logs would also provide more context than the drier maintenance logs, and personal logs are often ignored unless further information is required pertaining to the person in question rather than their role. The privacy around personal logs is rather easy to abuse. For example, a holographic replication of a person can be created based on the compiled logs of an individual, and while the personal logs are not exactly public, the resulting hologram could be used to reiterate details. This seems as a massive oversight, but personal logs can be accessed pretty much for any reason, and the privacy factor is only based on trust with few actual safeguards. From the computer itself to any other officer, anyone can access your data, which brings me to today's sponsor. I joke, but that would have been a perfect segue. So, why would anyone record private thoughts into a personal log? Well, as mentioned, it's often the place for context that would be unprofessional to include in a duty log. And, rather morbidly, it provides a trail should something happen to you. After all, Starfleet is dangerous, and the chance of disappearances is always present. As all logs, personal and duty, are routinely uploaded to Starfleet Command, a trail is usually present. Personally, I do think that these logs need to be more secure. While they are all scanned for confidential or secure information and restricted or even edited for security, so much can be learned from these records, and the protection on them is pretty low. Often these records come in handy, but occasionally they are abused by malefactors, and I'm not sure the trade-off is worth it. What do you think? Channel log, because I'm recording a log. Okay, well, thanks for listening to this video log. This has been Rick, signing out. Committing to the bit is hard.